September 21st, 2021 to order at 6:30 p.m. I'd ask everyone to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, however they'd like to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please now go to the roll call vote, City Clerk, or the roll call of members present, City Clerk. I apologize.
Humby.
Here.
Gabriel.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Schmeckel.
Here.
Schuster.
Here.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
That's 8 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Let's move now to item number 4 for public comment on non-agenda related items. Public comment on non-agenda related items. Members of the council, City Clerk, as I look at our guest attendees tonight, I sense that most of them are here for, if not all of them, are here for agenda related items. I'm going to close the public comment and move on now to the next item. Vice Mayor. Item number 5.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move that the following change to the agenda be approved. We are moving item 9C from our consent agenda to item number 17A.
Second.
It's a motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster. All those in favor say aye or indicate by raising your hand.
Aye.
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 All right. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Schuster. All those in favor of the changes or of the motion by the Vice Mayor to set the agenda, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Mayor. We'll now go to our proclamation, our first proclamation on the agenda under our section for proclamations, which is the Manufacturing Day Proclamation. I'll now read the proclamation. Whereas the city of Laramie, Wyoming, recognizes the importance of manufacturing to our local, state, and global economy, and whereas manufacturers provide outstanding employment opportunities with both high wages and great benefits, and generate exceptional annual earnings, allowing them to be an economic development driver in the community, and whereas manufacturers in the city of Laramie, Wyoming, have participated in the High Altitude Manufacturing Partnership since 2018, along with education, workforce development, and other such support partners, to raise awareness of the many and diverse career opportunities in the manufacturing industry, and whereas the city of Laramie, Wyoming routinely sees the positive contributions of our local manufacturers and appreciates and thanks them for their continued commitment to the communities and clients they serve. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Paul Weaver, acting as mayor and president of the governing body of the city of Laramie, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim October 1st, 2021 as Manufacturing Day in the city of Laramie, and we urge all residents to join us in recognizing the critical role manufacturing plays in our local, state, and global economy. I believe we have a guest with us that would like to say a couple of words in recognition of the day as well. City Clerk?
Mayor, I don't see the representative that was supposed to be here today, but just to give the council and the public a little background, this request did come from Mary Orr from the Department of Workforce Services for employment and training. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of feedback there.
I appreciate that, City Clerk. You know, I think manufacturing has started to be recognized as a fairly broad category you know, it has an umbrella that covers a number of things. I can think of a couple of businesses, so that's good, and we wish them the best, and we're happy to recognize Manufacturing Day for all the reasons that were outlined in the proclamation. Okay, let's go to our next proclamation, Council, and that is for Deaf Awareness Week. Council Member O'Doherty, as our council liaison, would you like to read this?
I just wanted to point out that I don't see the closed captioning. Maybe it's something that I have to click on. Normally I see the caption.
My screen says live transcription closed captioning is enabled. So
okay, thank you.
Councilmember O'Doherty, would you like to read the proclamation?
I'm not the liaison for.
Oh, the Disabilities Committee. That's right. That's changed, and my brain is stuck on Councilmember O'Doherty as the liaison to the Disabilities Commission, but that is not the case. I believe we have a different council liaison to the Disabilities Commission. Would the council liaison, Councilmember Cumby, like to read this proclamation on behalf of myself and the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would be honored.
Thank you very much.
Laramie Deaf Awareness Week. Whereas Deaf Awareness Week was first celebrated by the World Federation of the Deaf in 1958, this event is also known as International Week of the Deaf, commemorating the first Congress of the World Federation of the Deaf, which took place in September 1951. And whereas at least 20 deaf-blind, and hard of hearing individuals reside in Laramie, and whereas the community benefits from many contributions of deaf-blind, and hard of hearing residents, and whereas the purpose of Deaf Awareness Week is to increase public awareness of the issues and the culture of people who are deaf, the event is an opportunity to promote equal access to information and services for deaf individuals and to educate the public about the misconceptions of being deaf. Whereas the last week of September has been designated as Deaf Awareness Week to celebrate and recognize deaf-blind, and hard of hearing individuals and promote awareness in the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council and Mayor Weaver, acting as Mayor and President of the governing body of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the last week of September 2021 as Deaf Awareness Week in the city and encourage all citizens, businesses, public and private agencies, religious and educational institutions to join in observing the week in honor of persons who are deaf, deaf-blind, and hard of hearing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate that. Councilmember Cumby, thank you for reading that on behalf of the council. And these recognitions that are given, it's not because there's ever a thought that 1 week of awareness is enough. It's just that we try to find things that are on the calendar so that we can have a public awareness effect on them. And I don't mean just our council, I mean groups in general that do these things. So we're happy to participate in that. All right, let's see, we have public hearings, and we'll go now to the first public hearing and over to the city clerk for the announcement, please.
Notice is hereby given that a public meeting of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on September 21st, 2021 in the City Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Due to COVID restrictions, meeting will only be held on Zoom to take public comments on the following. Original Ordinance 2030, in parentheses VAC-21-01, A vacation request that will vacate a portion of Lewis Street, 11th Street, 12th Street, and an alleyway within and adjacent to Block 2, University Place Addition by the University of Wyoming for a property located in an R3 zoning district. All applications and plans and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the public for any comment or input for this public hearing. Seeing none, council, I now close the public hearing on this item. And we will move to the next public hearing on our agenda. City Clerk for the announcement.
Notice is hereby given that on the 26th day of August 2021, an application was received in the office of the City Clerk for a new restaurant liquor license number R67 from Guerin Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Coal Creek Coffee, located at 2317 East Grand Avenue, Unit F, Laramie, Wyoming. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom meeting. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of Laramie City Council on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. Let's now go to the public and see if there are comments to be made on this item for this hearing. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing for this item. Move on to the next item on our agenda. City Clerk, thank you for those announcements of those hearings. And speaking of announcements, we have some announcements for staff recognition this evening, but let's see if there are any other general announcements first. City Manager?
Mayor, thank you. We have no general announcements this evening and are ready to move to our staff recognition.
That's great. Let's do that.
Thank you. I'm disappointed to tell you that our staff member who really is our employee of the month or our rock star of the month is unable to be with us tonight. Although I must say I'm not terribly surprised. He's a little bit probably camera shy and self-admittedly in his article this month told us that he's a bit of an introvert. And that is Dennis Johnson Jr. Dennis is currently the fire marshal, would be sort of the colloquial term that we would use for his position, but his official position is the Division Chief for Fire Prevention in the Laramie Fire Department. So a little bit about Division Chief Johnson. He has recently been promoted to his position after 20 years with the department. I was surprised, frankly, to learn some history about his time with the city that I was unaware of, and that is that Dennis was originally hired in 1997 at the water treatment plant as a part-time painter. So I thought all of his experiences in the fire department, but no, he came to us there. He said he wanted to get his foot in the door, and he was worried that he would not be hired for the position by Cal Van Zee, who was the utility manager in '97, because he thought he was overqualified and that he wouldn't even get an interview because of his Bachelor of Science degree in molecular biology. So fortunately, it appears he was given a foot in the door at the water treatment plant, and ultimately, a few years later, he did test twice and successfully make it onto the fire department ranks. Clearly, he's moved up through there over the course of his career, and he says one of the things he enjoys about his new position is a lot of meetings and working with fire code interpretations, putting out public information, and he noted that he deals with a lot of plan reviews. They're complex, but that it's very rewarding. So we'd like to recognize Dennis Johnson Jr.'s service to the city for well over 20 years now, most of it in the fire department, and recognize his new role in the community where he'll be working extensively with our business community. He's a great person, a great employee. He was nominated by our assistant city manager and by Chief Johnson, both who said he brings a great mix of work experience, education, and is a pleasure to work with. So we want to thank Dennis for his service, and I'm sorry he can't be with us here tonight to be recognized.
Well, we're sorry as well, but that's understandable. We are 2 in a row now on our people that can't join us for the staff recognitions. We're going to start the council is going to start to feel like perhaps they don't want to come and talk to us. I don't know. I'm teasing. People are busy, and not everybody wants to hang out with us here on the internet on Tuesday night, and I would never blame them for that. But we do like to hear about these employees. Thank you, City Manager. That was cool to hear about the background for Mr. Johnson and the work that he's done for us and all those other points. We like it. Okay, let's now go to our next part of our agenda, which is disclosures by city council members. Do any city council members have any disclosures, any conflicts, potential conflicts on any of the items on our agenda tonight? Vice Mayor Pierce?
Yeah, our Fire Chief Johnson joined us, so I'm wondering if he might have something to add to
the previous item that we're now done with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wondering.
Let's check.
I know he too is also camera shy, but
yeah, he might be here for.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Chief, we got you. Go ahead.
So, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, I just echo what City Manager Jordan said. Dennis is a great guy to work with, and there's not a whole lot more to add. I've worked with him for a long time now, and he's doing a great job. So, just wanted to pitch in on that.
You bet. You bet. Thank you. Chief, like we said, we'd like to hear about these employees and kind of get a little bit of that background on them. Some of them that we don't have too many opportunities to meet. So we do appreciate this recognition that we do on a monthly basis. And we appreciate your comments as well, Chief. Thanks a lot. Okay. I'm not going to make the announcement about disclosures again. You all heard it the first time. Do council members have any disclosures on any of the agenda items that were coming forward tonight? I thought the vice mayor was going to tell me about a disclosure just a second ago, and I was going, this is unusual. No, we're going to recognize the fire chief, which we always will. Okay, I don't see any disclosures, so let's keep going, folks. And that takes us into the approval of the consent agenda item number 8. I'm going to turn that over to the vice mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
So a motion and a second from Councilmember Schuster.
Harrington.
Or pardon me, Harrington. Yeah, Brian's, I guess.
It's also always Councilor Schuster. He's always the fastest, so it makes sense.
Councilmember Harrington with the second. And thank you, council members, for keeping me on track. I want that public record to be accurate. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on the motion?
Humby,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schmeckel,
Yes.
Schuster,
Yes.
Somerville, absent, Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. The motion to approve the consent agenda has passed. We'll now go to the next item, which would be the opening of our regular agenda. Takes us into item number 11. I recognize Council Member Harrington for the introduction of the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the replacement MOU between the County of Albany, Wyoming and the City of Laramie, Wyoming for collaborative and coordinated growth management through establishment of a joint growth area agreement and authorization of amendment of the fiscal year 2021-22 budget to support this effort and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
So second from the vice mayor.
And Mr. Mayor, for just clarity for the public, the MOU before us now is the replacement one. You can find it in our packet. It is the MOU titled 2021.09.21A. That would be the replacement MOU. The only difference between the two MOUs is that the member of the Planning Commission for the city that will be appointed is listed by name, and that is Sharon Buccino.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. If I can, Council, just another 30 seconds or so of explanation about this as well. It's an outgrowth of previous goals adopted jointly between the city and the council, the city council and the county commissioners to pursue a couple of community priorities that we'd like to see some progress on. And one of those has been further work on aquifer protection. And this is a project where we're trying to figure out a good approach to some long-term planning for growth in those areas that are in the county, but immediately adjacent to the city limits, where we anticipate some development and would like to even encourage that, but make sure that it's done in a way that makes sense with our infrastructure and street plans. Any other comments or commentary, questions on this item? Staff background or anything? I think we've heard quite a bit about it before. We've just had to bump the date on this a couple of times to work with our partners over at the county. Let's see if there's any public comment on the item. Seeing none. Back to the council for one more chance. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Mayor, thanks. I'll just go ahead and add to your comments. I think it's really great that we're working on these partnerships with the county, and we're going forward kind of full steam ahead. So this is one of those items that we've been working on, and I really look forward to the findings once we get there. And I think springtime, hopefully, right? Maybe early summer. Anyway, yeah, just excited that we're doing this, and it's great to see, and I love being a part of it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I really appreciate those additional comments. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank the Planning Commission member who volunteered to serve in this role. It will be a considerable amount of work, and I think it is important for the council to acknowledge her service.
Absolutely. We're very, very fortunate to have someone with the level of experience that Planning Commission member brings to us. Vice Mayor, again, I appreciate your additional comments as well as your recognition of that volunteer service. Councilmember Harrington, absolutely. And the county has been very engaged on this. And so we are working together to get some things done that the community has told us they support and would like to see happen. And of course, we're wanting to do it as well. Okay, let's go to the city clerk for a roll call vote on the item.
Humby.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes, please.
Schuster.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now I have item number 12, which I think was Councilmember Cumby.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that City Council approve the application for a restaurant liquor license number R67 to Garin Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Coal Creek Coffee, located at 2317 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term September 22nd, 2021 through May 7, 2022, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
We'll call that Vice Mayor Pierce for the second. So we've had a motion second. And City Clerk, is there any background you want to give us on this item as it relates to the license?
Absolutely, Mayor. I'll go ahead and give you a brief background here. This is our second restaurant liquor license application after the legislature revised laws to modify the definition of a restaurant liquor license and to modify the area that we're actually licensing as a dispensing area. It's no longer a room, which opened up some possibilities for a few businesses around town. So this is the second of two of our businesses that are wanting to take an opportunity to jump into this new endeavor. So as you know, John and Jody Guerin currently have Cold Creek Coffee downtown. This license application is for their uptown location. So this is the one that's located on Grand Avenue. So they're excited for that. John is on the line with us tonight. So if you have any questions for him, the dispensing area would be located in the kitchen area. There are some pictures in your packet. It would be between the two refrigerators that they have in that counter area. He does have some signs posted to alert staff that anyone under 21 are not allowed to remain in that area. So with that, Mayor, if the council have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, as well as John.
Questions? Thank you, City Clerk. Questions for the City Clerk before I go to our guest and applicant. Questions for the City Clerk? All right. Thank you, City Clerk, once again for that. Mr. Guerin, thank you for being here. You're very familiar with our City Council processes. Would you like to talk to us about any of these changes or make any comments about the item?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Not necessarily. I wanted to attend in case there were any questions or concerns.
Any question? Thank you.
Entertain those.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Guerin, for being here for that purpose. Any questions for Mr. Guerin, who's made time in his evening? I guess I have one, while other people may think of theirs. This change was, I believe it was intended to sort of facilitate an easier situation for businesses with these liquor licenses. Have you found that to be the case, Mr. Guerin?
So far, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it's been a good change. Very positive.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Council members, any other questions? Comments? All right. Well, we want to thank you for making time to be here. We wish you continued success with your businesses here in Laramie, and hoping that you're having a much better year than you did last year, and next year will be even better.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your consideration.
All right. Council members, one more time before we go to the vote. All right. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on the item? City Clerk? Oh, public comment. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't anticipate we'll have any, but we will follow the agenda and see if there's public comment on this item. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment opportunity, and then we'll go to the City Clerk for a roll call vote.
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
That motion carries. Thank you very much, City Clerk. So let's now go to item number 13, and we have Councilmember Schuster to do that, who's also on our Finance Committee, so he seemed like an appropriate person for introduction of budget amendments. Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. The title is Resolution 2021-61, Budget Amendment pertaining to American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding. I recommend the council approve the resolution 2021-61, amending the appropriations total of $5,673,340 for the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, for the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget of the City of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
So a motion and a second from Councilmember O'Doherty. Thank you very much to both of you. I see that our Chief Operating Officer, Emily Brown, is here. And so I'd like to turn it over to her for background on the item. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I just wanted to remind you that during the budget sessions, we did not have the Treasury guidelines to adopt the ARPA fundings, and we didn't really know what our funding amount was going to be. And so I said, when the Treasury guidelines get out and we review what we feel that would be the appropriate funding and understand what the funding is, we'll bring back a budget amendment, which is what we're doing tonight. The Treasury guidelines, just to go over some of the guidelines of what we can use the monies for, it's can support public health response. It can replace your public sector revenue loss. It can be for water and sewer infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, premium pay to workers, and address negative economic impacts on businesses. And so one of the things that we had discussed was to not duplicate programs. I mean, there's a lot of programs at the state for broadband, and there's also a lot of things like the ERAP program for emergency rental assistance and public utilities that have been implemented and we're actually using in our utility billing. So we felt that the strategy should be that we help our citizens and offset some of the rates, looking at our rates, looking at our financial plan, and actually going to be updating our rates at the end of the year in a work session that, we're recommending $2 million in the water fund, $2 million in the sewer fund. And our revenue recovery calculated more. However, we have a limit of 5.6. So we are just claiming what we can have of 1.6, which is the difference. And so we've got our first monies received of around, I think it's 2.836, 2.8 million. And the second will probably come in about another 6 months in June. And one of the requirements is that we get this stuff done obligated by 2024 December. And so we pick projects that we know are designed and ready to go, and we can spend this money on construction, and it will, it still requires a lot of the OMB and requirements from the grants that we have to do. So that's what we're recommending tonight. That's the amendments tonight, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions you have.
Thank you for that. Any questions for Officer Brown on these, Chief Operating Officer Brown on this? I think she gave us a pretty good layout with this, and we've heard some other updates as we've gone along this year that we would hear more about this when we had that direction from the Treasury Department. Councilmember O'Doherty.
Probably I didn't read it clearly enough, but the $2 million for the sewer line and $2 million for the water line, are we going to get from the first tranche? New word for me. Is that going to be equally split for those two projects, or are you going to start with one and then go to the other?
I think it'll be evenly split because we're probably going to get it within this fiscal year anyway, so it won't really matter. So if you think about it, so we're bidding out those projects right now. They probably won't start till next summer, early summer anyway, because we're not spending on design, we're spending on construction. So I believe we'll have most of the money by the time we start these projects.
Thank you.
Well, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate what our Chief Operating Officer Brown mentioned to the folks out there, having to do with a pretty incredible savings on our rates. We're in the process right now of studying those rates and to find out where they're going to be. And by my calculation, $4 million of these federal funds are going to be used to offset any rate increases that we see coming down the road. And I think it's important that they know where, our citizens know where we're putting a pretty big chunk of that money, and I think it's important to recognize that. So thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor, thank you. I really appreciate that too. I think sometimes we get a little bit shy about trying to go a little further on some of these topics, and that's right. I mean, what we're really hoping to do with this assistance, this recovery assistance, is save the local taxpayers a little bit in the long run through the kinds of projects that we prioritize. And I think our staff is working hard to do that and bringing those choices to us. So we really do appreciate that. Do you have any other commentary? Any comment? I'm going to say this just because it was brought up by Councilmember O'Doherty. Tranche, yeah, that's a new word. It's not really a new word, but it's emerged as a bit of a frequently used word in terms of government allocations. It's a synonym for allotment, portion, chunk, piece. But for some reason, we're all using tranche nowadays. But yes, we're very fortunate and appreciative of these federal dollars that are coming our way. Any other questions or commentary? Appreciate everything that we've heard. Appreciate the background and the presentation from Malia as well, from our finance person. Okay, I don't see any. Why don't we see if there's public comment on the item, and then we'll come back real quick. I am looking for public comment on this item, and I don't see any. So we'll close the opportunity and move on. Last chance for any questions for Chief Operating Officer Brown. Pat? Sorry, Councilmember Gabriel? No? Okay. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Gabriel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Cumby.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
That motion carries. Thank you, City Clerk. That takes us into item number 14. I don't remember who.
That would be me.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, very much. Over to you.
Okay, great. I move that City Council approve Resolution 2021-63, extending the dates of Resolution 2021-30 and 2021-36 related to the establishment of the open container area and downtown economic enhancements initiatives, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
So motion from the Vice Mayor and a second from Councilmember Harrington. I see that we've got the Assistant City Manager with us to talk to us about it. Mr. Fieser, over to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, yeah, you're on the mute there. There you go.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mayor. As noted in the cover sheet, we received a request from Laramie Main Street Alliance to extend the dates of the previously approved open container and Hollyhock Commons, basically through October 24th, to encompass the UW homecoming activities. And I'll state from LMSA's letter, they believe the extension would add to the enjoyment for alumni, students, and visitors about these two initiatives that have seen immense use and are praised by the public and district business owners. With that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Appreciate that. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My question is for Assistant City Manager Fieser. Is this the same date or close to the same date as what we approved for O'Dwyer's?
Honorable Mayor, I'm going to lean on the city clerk for that date. I don't remember exactly the date for what we had approved for O'Dwyer's.
I think it was like the end of October, first part of November, but
I think you're right, and I think the city clerk, Vice Mayor, I believe you're correct, and I think the city clerk is checking that for us. Any other questions while we're getting that information? Let's make a quick comment. You know, these fall activities are pretty popular, and I think if we can encourage people to have more activities outside, our downtown partners always do a good job at those events and organizing for those. I see the city clerk. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. According to our permission letter statement, they had through November 1st.
Close. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Within a week. That's good.
Other questions? Councilmember O'Doherty.
I have a comment. As someone who, when this was proposed last year, was not too enthusiastic, but then I saw it in practice, and I've seen people enjoying downtown. I've seen them at the Parklet and at the Hollyhock Commons. I don't see people staggering around drunk and urinating on the streets at 8 o'clock. You know, it goes till 8 p.m. And I think it's just a fun, people gather together, and so I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty. And I'm gonna provide an assist with that comment, because it might have caught some people off guard. We heard some criticism that activities of that nature might take place if we did this. And in fact, our Laramie residents have been responsible in the way that they've chosen to enjoy that opportunity and use that feature down there. Other comments or questions for this item? Councilmember Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we probably would have heard about it, so I'm just going to call this a comment. I think we would have heard about any sort of additional need for policing downtown or any incidents in association with this, because we have all been following it closely, and I think the chief knows that. So I would say there have still, I'm venturing here, but I think we would have heard otherwise, but I'm guessing there's still been no increased no increased necessity for any policing downtown due to this.
Thank you, Councilmember Harrington. We'll go back to, I think, the Assistant City Manager. Did I see you give an indication? Did you have something you wanted to add in on that particular topic? Okay, let's go back to Councilmember O'Doherty.
Sorry, I just want to chime in again that I was picking up trash downtown this weekend, and it wasn't alcohol related. It was fast food containers, and I got a couple bags. I mean, a shopping bag full of containers. So we do get trash blowing around downtown, but I don't think this contributes more than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty. Yeah, unfortunately, because we're here in High Plains, windy Wyoming, we get trash blowing around all over the place. And sometimes it's not even because people haven't thrown it away. It's because the receptacles and the bins and the containers get blown over, or the trash gets blown out of them. Assistant City Manager, I guess I'd ask you just a quick question, because I think we're all kind of touching on one topic, which is that the feedback that we've received on this has generally been positive, and I think the council is just careful and want to make sure anything that isn't positive that's happened or could be resulting from that feature downtown, we want to make sure that gets addressed. But we haven't heard anything. Do you continue to have a generally positive impression of the Hollyhock Commons and activities associated with it? Have we continued to get a primarily positive feedback about that? I think so, but I'd ask you to weigh in.
Honorable Mayor, from the times that my family and that we've used it for work purposes to the city, you know, I always pay close attention to the care of it. I was a little surprised by the pictures that I saw today, and I'm just assuming that we had that big windstorm on Sunday and staff hadn't been alerted to the problems down there, but they were working on the repairs today to make sure that it was up. I'm a little concerned about it getting frozen down if we stay this late into October, but we'll obviously get some warm days where we can get it up. And fortunately or unfortunately, I think this is the last year we'll be able to use this set of turf. We'll need new turf if we do this in the future. But I haven't heard any major concerns, and really the comments are really positive. And I was pleased to have Laramie Main Street Alliance and their board members state that they feel like they've seen him in shoes. So I'm happy to hear that. And I appreciate Councilor O'Doherty's comments and everybody's support to this.
Mr. Fieser, if there is an issue like something blown over or or some garbage or things like that get blown into that area, or something of that nature, what would be the best person to contact, or what would be the best department to contact?
Honorable Mayor, if it's in the off hours, most people would make a call to dispatch, and then dispatch would make contact with my parks manager or my facilities manager. That's one of the things I do need to follow up on, because facilities may not have gotten down there yesterday to know that we had a problem with the turf, but we do check that through the weekends and on the weekdays, and we keep track of it pretty closely because we don't want it to get into poor shape. So, but typically a call into dispatch, not 911, the 721-5256 number is what we're looking for people to call. And then they reach out to our on-call people to take care of issues.
Thank you. I wanted to give people that information. That non-emergency dispatch number, if it's off hours. All right. Let's see if there's any, excuse me. Let's see if there's any comment from the public on the item. Don't see anybody indicating they'd like to make comment on the item. Give it just a second. We'll close that public comment opportunity. Back to you, council, one more time. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on the item?
Schuster,
Yes.
Schmeckel,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Cumby,
Yes.
Somerville, absent, Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion carries. Let's move on to item number 15 now, and I'm going to recognize Council Member Gabriel as our Parks and Recreation Board liaison for the introduction of the item.
Thanks, Mayor. We had a good meeting the other night recently on the Parks and Rec Board, and my motion is to have the City Council certify the action of the Parks, Tree, and Rec Advisory Board by approving the request to name the disc golf course in LaPrelle Park Scotty's Disc Golf Course in honor of Scott Inbinger.
Second.
Motion and a second is once again impossible for me to determine. So I will go with Council Member O'Doherty.
It wasn't me.
No, who was it?
Cumby.
Council Member Cumby? Okay, thank you. Thank you all. All right, let's ask Councilmember Gabriel for additional feedback on this, and then maybe, or we'll go to the Assistant City Manager. Mr. Feeser, go ahead.
Honorable Mayor, City Councilor, we were approached just early, right before we got back to meeting with Parks, Tree, and Rec Advisory Board by Megan Hayes, who's on the meeting tonight with us and like to say a few words. But about the proposal to name the Spring Creek Disc Golf Course Scotty's Disc Golf Course. Although we developed a process and we have a policy related to naming and renaming, I will assure you that it meets the intent of our naming policy. And one of the odd things is that it might seem like that we call this a Spring Creek Disc Golf Course, but it's just, that was never a formal name that council had recognized. So I do consider this a first time naming. It was just a location naming that we used to start off the process. We had a great meeting, as Councilor Gabriel indicated, with the Parks, Tree, and Rec Advisory Board, and they really discussed a few things, especially related to the write-up where we had originally intended to mention the Atmosphere Mountain Works as a commercial business. And through work of the board, they actually edited and changed the verbiage to make it fit to where we didn't feel like we were getting into that quote-unquote commercial realm with the naming policy. I do have some identified funding in the Albany County Rec Board funds that were used to improve the Spring Creek Disc Golf Course that we can use to pay for the minor adjustments to the sign that we do need to make. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Megan Hayes to give her a chance to give you a quick report before you get to council questions, if that's all right.
Of course it is. Thank you, and thanks for being here. Megan Hayes, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I hope this is a relatively uncontroversial measure that is coming before you tonight. Scott Evinger was a singular person who started Atmosphere Mountain Works downtown and was instrumental in getting the disc golf course started. He single-handedly approached local businesses to sponsor the individual baskets and pads that are there. The city has now taken that over. There's a wonderful sign and a place at the first golf hole, if you will, the start of the course. That would be a wonderful place to remember Scott and everything he contributed to the city. He was a large personality and a wonderful downtown business person, and I really encourage you to support this motion and the naming of the disc golf course for Scotty. And there will be a little write-up, I guess you guys have seen, in a picture of him with one of his puppies. That's quite a lovely tribute to Scott. And he was just a wonderful person. And if you didn't know him, I'm sorry you missed out, but this would be a great way to honor his legacy to our community.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that summary of this item for us, and I think you correctly sense that it's not going to be poorly received by the council. Scotty was a character in all the best sense of that description, and really contributed to our downtown community character and our community in general. You know, he always participated in community efforts and fundraising through his business and activities, and the short show and all the stuff that used to happen at the Atmosphere Mountain Works store, and the new owners, I think, continue some of those traditions. He was a great guy. Mr. Fieser, I have a question for you, which is that we have a lot of amenities located in our parks, and some of those are named after individuals. This isn't a departure from that practice in any way. In fact, it's just a continuation of that. An amenity within a park can certainly be named after an individual or an organization, and we see examples of that across Laramie. I think I'm correct in that.
Honorable Mayor, you're correct. Our policy does allow for amenities or whole parks or different parts and pieces to be named after people. Currently, I don't know that we have any amenities as it stands alone right now. This might be our first one that's just a standalone amenity that's named after an individual, but it's fully encumbered in our policy to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and we just want to cover those things so people know that we have had consideration of these types of requests. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just want to say that other park benches are named after people, and this is more appropriate to name a disc golf course, and also to get people to get up and moving. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I thank you for that comment. And Mr. Fieser, I thank you for that background too. The Parks Board has a process, and they have a public process where people can weigh in on these types of things. Let's see if there's any public comment on this. I don't see any. Let's close the public comment portion. Back to the council for one last shot at questions or comments. Seeing no further questions or comments, we'll thank Ms. Hayes for being here to talk to us this evening about the item. We appreciate your time. Let's go to the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Sorry, Gabriel. Thank you. O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Cumbie.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
That motion carries, and we encourage everybody to go and tee up. We still have some nice days coming. Go check out the disc golf course, Scotty's Disc Golf Course. All right, let's move on. Thank you. We have item number 16 up next, and that's Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve original ordinance number 2030 on second reading, vacating approximately 102,500 square foot area of right-of-way, including a portion of Lewis Street, 11th Street, 12th Street, and the alley within and adjacent to Block 2, University Place Edition, as recommended by the Planning Commission, based on findings of fact and conclusion of law, and postpone the third and final reading until the October 19th, 2021 regular City Council meeting.
Second.
It's a motion from Councilmember Harrington, second from Councilmember Schmeckel, I think I heard. And I see that Mr. Tini from our planning department is here, our planning manager. So over to you, sir.
Mayor, Council, as noted in the motion, this is the second reading of the vacation of some of the streets and alleyways kind of located north of campus. During first reading, I kind of gave a detailed analysis of what was going on. You held a public hearing this evening as well. No public comments were taken during that. And so really what I would do is just remind the council that this vacation is kind of the continued efforts of the expansion of the university to the north. And this area that we see in here is also accompanied by an MOU that requires certain things to be completed. And so as the university continues to work on those, that's kind of the purpose of the postponement to the October 19th meeting, so that it can continue to give them time to finish those items so that the vacation can be completed. I'll just point out that if, for instance, if the item isn't, or if those items within the MOU are not completed by that October 19th date, we would have this item on the agenda, but we would just postpone it to a later date until those things are completed. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Planning Manager Tini. That was a good breakdown and explanation of that. Any questions that the council has? Let's see if there's any public comment. Seeing none. I see that Mr. Farstad, the University of Wyoming's planning or project manager. Sorry if I don't get your title right, Mr. Farstad. I don't recall it. Did you want to add anything or expand on anything?
Honorable Mayor, no, the planning manager Tini always does a great job of illustrating that. Here to support and offer any clarification if needed.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you making time to be here. Any questions for Mr. Farstad? All right. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion carries. All right, council members, let's move on to our next item, which is item number 17. And the mayor has forgotten who was going to introduce that item.
I believe it was me, Mayor. I'll volunteer to do it if it wasn't.
I think it
Ready
was.
to go and keyed up.
I think it was. I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Schuster.
Okay, title is Consideration of a Bid Award to Shepherd Construction Incorporated, Rawlins, Wyoming, for the Interfaith Food Pantry Addition. I move the City Council approve that the city, award the bid for the Interfaith Food Pantry Addition to Shepherd Construction Incorporated, Rawlins, Wyoming, including the base bid along with the alternate number 1 and number 2 in the amount not to exceed $698,525, and authorize the city manager to sign the bid and the mayor and clerk to sign the construction contract.
Second.
It's a motion from Councilmember Schuster, a second from the Vice Mayor. Thank you very much. Mr. Feaser?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, thanks for having me again tonight. As you may remember, in 2020, the City of Laramie applied for a community development block grant distributed by HUD and administered through the Wyoming Business Council in 2020. The project was designed and bid out earlier this year and came in at about $750,000. We moved to reject those bids, go back to the drawing board, wait for some construction prices to level out and rebid it, which we recently did. When we accepted bids on September 7th, we had one bidder in Shepherd Construction, which was a base bid of $642,125. We have a $50,000 contingency, which I really hope we don't get into for this addition. We have a $5,400 alternate for painting and a $1,000 alternate for monument sign installation, and then a rejected concrete valley gutter at the porch due to changes on a phase 3 that the interfaith is working on. Aside from that, just distributed today was a letter from the Interfaith Board that I hope you saw that contained their commitment to cover any overages, which was also part of their initial agreement with the City of Laramie. With that, we would recommend approval of the bid. Josh Watanabe from the Interfaith Food Pantry is on the Zoom call tonight listening in. I'm not sure if he's got anything he'd like to add, but we're excited to get this project going and get this done so that Interfaith can increase its services to our community.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Mr. Watanabe, since you've made time to be here, I'd like to give you an opportunity to add anything that you might like to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm really here to answer any questions you might have regarding this. We are incredibly grateful for the support from the city, from Todd Feaser, and we're looking forward to this project. So thank you.
You bet. Questions for the executive director? I guess I just have a quick one. Can you just sort of give us a real quick encapsulation of what this project is going to provide for expansion of services?
Absolutely. This project is roughly 2,000 square feet of primarily pantry space. This will include a walk-in freezer and a walk-in cooler. Both of those will be sized large enough for us to wheel in entire pallets of food. This will move our storage space in our pantry from roughly 600 square feet, I believe, to upwards of 2,200-2,300 square feet, not including some of the office and storage space that's included in those blueprints.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the extra details on that. Mr. Feaser kind of gave us a good overview, but that's good to know. And we're glad that it's going to be able to move forward. Let's see if we have any public comment on it real quick. Doesn't look like it, so we'll close that up. Council members, any further questions for Mr. Feaser or Mr. Watanabe on the item? Seeing none, we'll ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Gumby,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
O'Doherty,
Yes.
Schmeckel,
Yes.
Schuster,
Excuse me, yes. Mic was off.
Somerville, absent, Pierce,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 8 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That motion carries. And we'll look forward to future updates on that project and how it's helping provide services for the Laramie and Albany County residents. Council, we've been able to get through our agenda efficiently this evening. Let's see if there's public. City clerk.
One more item to go.
Yeah, well, you know me. I have to stumble my way through. Let's see. That takes us to, well, this is where I was going. I hope I didn't miss it. Public comments, right? Yeah.
17A.
Oh, 17A, which I don't have in front of my screen because I didn't press the item. Councilmember Comby, or O'Doherty.
It's with great joy that I move to approve City Council Resolution number 2021-62, recognizing the City of Laramie's commitment to solar initiatives through the participation in the U.S. Department of Energy's Soul Smart Community, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
The motion and a second from Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember O'Doherty, did you want to address anything? Do you want to see if anybody from the staff wants to?
I think Mr. Teeney's willing to just give us a very brief summary.
Excellent. Go right ahead.
Yep, Mayor and Council. So this item is it's a resolution at this point in the process related to the U.S. Department of Energy's Soul Smart program, and one of our interns was doing some research related to solar initiatives and came across this program. And so after doing some reaching out and just learning a little bit more about exactly what this program was, we thought that it was a good fit for Laramie. Really, to summarize what this program is this program isn't a funding program, but there is some technical assistance associated with it. And along with that technical assistance is also recognition. Recognition of your community's efforts to use solar, initiate solar practices within your community. And what we find is that as people look to maybe relocate in our community, maybe it's people or businesses, sometimes these things really matter, whether your community is taking efforts and putting the initiative into, whether it's energy conservation, solar programs, anything like that. And so what we're doing with this resolution is really kicking off the process. The city staff has had a kind of an introductory meeting with the representatives of the Soul Smart program, which have kind of provided us the background of exactly what it would take. And this is really the first step. They ask for some sort of commitment from the community in a formal manner so that you can kind of enter the program. And then really beyond that, what it's going to be is staff working with the Soul Smart program staff members in terms of evaluating what we've done already, evaluating codes and practices, and then potentially giving us a designation or a ranking within the, I'm going to say the United States in terms of different levels of which we've achieved solar excellence. We can continue to grow in that. And so this will allow us to, and staff to start that process and see kind of where this goes. We think kind of based on what we're seeing already in the evaluation matrices and stuff, that we've done a lot of the things that they really are wanting to see. And so we think that we should be able to achieve some level at this point right off the bat, but then allow us to maybe work towards higher levels of recognition. So, with that, I think really too, what I would say is I think the technical assistance piece is the really important part of this. They can really provide us some good guidance, whether it's related to zoning codes or building codes or to processes, or maybe even other ways in which we can incorporate solar into the broader picture of our community. That's really where they excel. And so that's what we hope to kind of get out of the program. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Other questions? Say if we have public comment. I don't believe we have anyone waiting in the attendees list. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I have a comment when I look at the soulsmart.org, the designees. I don't see anybody in Wyoming yet, so I think this is an opportunity to be the first in our state, or at least among the first if other communities are working on it. So I really appreciate staff effort in pursuing this. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor O'Doherty and I and a handful of the members of the staff were in a meeting, basically a one-on-one with the director of the Mountain Towns 2030 project from Park City. And he mentioned this program specifically as something the city of Laramie should look into doing. And as is typically the case for all of us, Councilor Doherty and I got really excited and said, like, let's do it. And then Darren Parkin chimed in and said, we're already well on the road to working on this program. So I just want to acknowledge the work of staff as well in really helping realize these goals that the council has set.
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. And most of those goals stem from information and feedback we get from Laramie residents. And the council certainly needs no reminders, but we want to just make a public acknowledgement that the city staff and the city council recognize that this is an important thing for Laramie residents. We've seen large amounts of public participation in and around these issues. And so this is an example of working on those things to make sure that they don't lose our focus, and we continue to move forward with those kinds of efforts because they're important, and we know they're important to people in the community. So good comments, and thank you staff for the work on it, and we'll look forward to future updates. Let's just have a roll call vote now.
Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 no's, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That motion carries. And council members, thank you for your assistance with the agenda. I do appreciate it. We'll now go to item number 18, which is public comments on non-agenda items. Seeing none. Let's close the public comment period and see if there's any additional council questions, comments, or thoughts about future work session topics and upcoming meetings. Councilmember Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. At our ward meeting over at Washington Park, the census was one of the items that came up for discussion. And in talking with Assistant City Manager Feeser, he suggested that a council member probably should request a work session so we can review some of those numbers. Certainly concerning that we lost population, and a lot of it, we can do some different things with the request from the government on that, but Todd suggested that somebody bring that up for a work session, so that would be my advice right now for council to consider a work session on the census review sometime in the future.
I second that.
That's greatly appreciated, council members. Councilmember Somerville.
I apologize, Mayor. I have a second work session request. I can wait.
Okay, we'll get to it in just a second. I think we've heard the suggestion from Councilmember Gabriel, and it's got council support from Councilmember Schuster, and I think the rest of us. I think we are concerned about this, and we've heard some comments that were somewhat related at the last work session that we had with the commissioners and legislators and so forth. So, yeah, I think we need to do that. So let's get that on the calendar as the staff sees that they can fit it in. Let's go back to Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. Request to coordinate a work session with the county commission, LCCC as their liaison. I have been approached to ask to get some time in front of the city council and county commission to talk about the Albany County campus. They requested that we do that maybe later October or early November.
Second.
Suggestion and support from Councilmember Schmeckel, and I think that's a good idea also. I don't see any objections. City Clerk.
Mayor, could I just ask for clarification? Is it an update similar to what we do with UW, or is it specific in nature?
City Clerk, it'll be significant in nature to do with the future of the Albany County campus. So it'll be more than probably a, half an hour Q&A session.
Okay, thank you.
My understanding, because I receive emails from there as a sometimes member of their staff in an adjunct instructor capacity, as they are in the process of having some long-term conversations about the future of the campus, and I think that's an important organization and amenity in our community. So we'd want to hear what's going on and what their thoughts are for sure. Councilmember Schmeckel.
Yeah, I want to echo that. They spoke recently to the LCBA board meeting, which I attended as my day job, and they are looking at that long-term planning and some options that they are trying to figure out for moving forward. So I think it's very important we hear them.
So let's see about adding that to the calendar as well. A lot of pressing topics. So we'll see when we might be able to get that on, and probably sounds like the understanding from the council is the sooner the better. And see if we can coordinate that with the county commissioners as well, city clerk, and how we can move forward. Other comments about upcoming meetings or work session requests? Okay, I don't see any. So I think I will now ask Councilmember Schuster for the next motion.
I'm sorry, I move we adjourn to executive session regarding personnel, Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405, small letter A, Roman numeral 10, and litigation, Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405, small letter A, Roman numeral 3.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Harrington to Councilmember Schuster's motion to adjourn to executive session as stipulated. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
All right. Why don't we see you there in just a few minutes?